Hello, dear students. This is Entrepreneurship 2. I'm Miss Tania Poveda. Welcome back. It's very important you remember you can download this information on your computer so you can print it or read it later. Okay, so make sure you save this information. Anyway, the link is going to be in YouTube so you can watch it again as many times as you need. Today, it's our summary number 3 to remember what investigation techniques are, and also we're going to check one more time about interview. But before continuing, let's remember that investigation techniques are the ways we use to collect information from the market or from possible markets, which is a group of people or maybe your clients or possible clients, okay? We already know that very well. How many techniques for investigation we're going to learn this year? 3. We already studied service, and now we continue with interviews. I just don't want you to confuse interview, like in a market research, with interview when you are applying for a job. Okay, don't confuse that. When you apply for a job, of course you have an interview. Nowadays, people are using some online techniques for interviews, like Zoom or Teams or Skype or any other interview way. That's when you apply for a job, which is good. You have a conversation with the person that is going to hire you or the person you are going to hire. But when we're talking about market research, an interview is something different because you use the interview to collect information using a conversation. And here in red, we have the question, what is interview in a market research? Do you remember this? Well, it's gathering information through direct, because you are face-to-face the person, dialogue, so a conversation. You go in front of a person and you talk to this person, like, what do you think about this? How do you think you can use it? How would you improve this product, etc. The next question here in red we should remember is, why is it important to know the story? When we talk about the story, we're talking about the thoughts, the feelings of the person or the possible client. And it is important to know that because that will help you to put. So you ask about things that happen and behaviors. Okay? And finally, why silence is important after asking a question. Okay, don't desperate when you ask a question during an interview if the person doesn't reply, doesn't answer immediately, because that silence is going to help the client to organize what they want to say, to think about the answer and to let you know their real feelings and thoughts about what you want to talk about. So in blue, we can read, because the interviewer might be thinking, remembering an experience, or they didn't understand the question. And during that silence, you are going to understand what's going on. That's why it's very important. Okay, so you collect information using a conversation. You pull out information. And also the silence is important because that's going to help the client or the interviewer to think, to remember, or to understand the question. Okay? This is just a review. I know you can check this whenever you want. 3 questions you should not ask in an interview. It sounds like obvious questions that you will ask to people, but actually they are the questions you shouldn't ask. Would you use this product? Would you pay for this product? Those 2 questions will lead the interviewer to say yes. And of course you want to sell the product, but remember that during an investigation, you are not selling, you are gathering information. So the information should be the most truthful possible. So you don't want the person to say yes just because. You want the people to say yes because they really think so, or you want people to say no because that will help you to improve your product. So if you ask it to a friend like, will you use the product? Your friend is going to tell you, yeah, sure, because it's your friend, or because they don't care or they don't know much, and it's like, yeah, okay. So they are going to say yes to make you happy. And not only if they are your friends, but because of social behavior. Because human beings, we want to be accepted. So if you say something that the other person wants to listen, probably it's going to be the truth, and probably it's just going to be like just because. The same way, will you pay for this product? Yes, sure. How much would you pay for this product? And here, this is a tricky question, because let's suppose that we're talking about something that is really expensive to produce, and then the market, we don't want to pay too much for a product, so probably we're going to say, yeah, maybe $1 for something that is actually 10 or 20. So those three questions are the questions you shouldn't ask, because you're not going to get too much information or real information from those three questions. So don't do it. And then for an interview, we studied 16 tips to have the most productive interview. So because we already studied this, I'm going to be very brief reading these 16 tips. And probably you remember the pictures here on the right? When we say get into the character. Remember that during an interview, if you are interested, you should be like the investigator. You should act like an investigator. Make sure that you have a list of questions and that you're ready to lead the conversation. You can be friendly, casual, and conversational. Also smile. It's very important you smile because that will help the other person to relax and trust you. And here in the end, I like this because smiling is contagious. Participants usually smile back, improving their attitude too, because people will feel comfortable if you are comfortable too. So make sure that you smile, like don't overact, obviously. don't show like all your teeth and overact. Just a simple, soft smile. I like this picture about the face of this boy because the tip number three is be fascinated. Again, don't overact, but remember that the information that the client is telling you is going to be extremely useful for you. And even if you expected the answer, or even if it's something really casual or something that you already knew, well, show the other person how important the answers are for you. And using your body, you can express what you really feel. So yeah, of course, this picture, the boy is like overacting, like, wow, he's so fascinated. You should be just normal, casual. Yeah, show with your body, with your eyes, with your smile, with your face, maybe doing some eye contact. Show the other person that you are interested, that you are fascinated by their answers. And something very important that is going to be useful for you, like everywhere, every time, not only during an interview, never cross your arms and legs. Never cross your arms and legs, because when you cross your arms and legs, you are showing negativity. It means that you don't believe something. So be relaxed, open your arms, stand, like easy. Look awake. Don't furrow your brow or raise your eyebrow. It means don't show like you don't believe. Don't show that the other person is lying to you, like you don't trust. No, just be relaxed. Just maybe open a little bit your eyes, like to show you are fascinated by the answers. That's it. What about being neutral and encouraging? Do you remember this? Well, sometimes Sometimes you don't need to go question after question after question for different reasons. One is that you don't want the other person to be tired of you. You don't want the other person to be pushed. So maybe during the conversation, you make sounds like, oh, sounds like show that you are listening, that you are interested, but don't be defensive. Or don't show the other person like you are not interested. And here, almost in the end here, can you read this? Don't get defensive when someone criticizes your product because you are investigating something and the other person is in the right to not like the product and they are going to criticize it. What about if you cook something and you love it, your family love it because you are used to those flavors. And now when you go to the market and try to sell the same product, maybe the market is not ready for that and they don't like it. So they're going to tell you something like, oh, this is too sweet or too salty or too dry or too soft. And because you made it, you are like, but my family love it. Yes, but doesn't mean that everybody will love it. And if you want to know what the market wants, and you are gathering information, be ready to be criticized. And don't take it personal. That's an investigation. That's it. Well, don't judge or dismiss. Remember that when you are talking to other person, in this case about a product, this person is going to give you the opinion from their beliefs, from their feelings, from their heart, from their knowledge. So you never, never, never expect the other person to act, to feel, to think like you do. Every single answer is very important for you to know the market, for you to know what people really want. And that's going to be very important to build your business. So if you dismiss something, if you don't like something, doesn't mean that it's incorrect. It just means that you just don't like it. But in this case, your opinion is not important. It's what the market wants, what matters. So something like this, it says, don't think this user is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, if you think something like that, believe me, people are going to see it on your face. And probably you're going to make this person really uncomfortable, and that person is not going to help you. Okay, so just be open mind, listen carefully. I'm not telling you to agree with this person. No, you shouldn't. I mean, you are in your right not to agree with everybody. But remember that you are acting like an investigator. That's why I came back to number 1. So don't judge, don't dismiss. Here in this picture, we can see these 2 people building a bridge. In this case, it's an arc, right? So this is like connecting between the investigator and the market. You build this arc, you build something together. When you talk friendly, when you express that you're interested, it's really important to understand that both of you are working to build something good. You are getting information from the market, and the market is helping you to build your business, to improve your product. So here, almost in the middle, start with friendly small talk before transitioning into your interview. Do you remember the video that I showed you? These 2 people talking, a guy and a woman, and he started like, hey, how are you? Something simple questions, Oh, do you do exercises? So simple questions, the other person will feel comfortable and open to answer more difficult or more specific questions, maybe more complicated questions, because you start with something easy. And then during the conversation, you create this bond with the other person and you can continue growing and growing on your investigation. In the end, it says, I often take a minute to summarize a few key points for our conversation before I effusively thank and pay, if it's the case, participants. So in the end, before you finish, you summarize everything just to make sure that both of you agree with what you talk about. When I say agree, I'm not saying that both of you feel and think exactly the same. I mean that you both agree that what you understood is what the other person meant. It's what the other person meant to say. Okay, do you remember in survey we were talking about types of questions, open questions and closed questions? Okay, one of those W questions, or I mean all of the W questions are used as open questions. It means they are going to give you the opportunity, or they are going to give the other person the opportunity to speak freely, to say what they think, to express their feelings. So when you use a W question, you have the opportunity to listen all kind of answers. Like, I like this example. Like if I'm in the class and you are 20 students, for example, and I ask you, what's your favorite color? That's a W question, right? What? What's your favorite color? I have men, women from 15, 16 years old in one class. I would have 20 answers. Most of them are going to be different because maybe you say, oh, I like blue, I like purple, pink, black, white, yellow. And then if I have other students say, I like blue too. Like I have 10 students who likes blue. Okay. But then one student say, yeah, but I like navy blue. And the other one is going to tell me I like light blue, sky blue, or turquoise blue. So you have like 10 different tones of blue, you know, because it's an open question. So it's going to give you the opportunity to talk about different answers. During an interview, those W questions or information questions or open questions are going to give you the opportunity to receive all kind of answers, and that's what you need for your investigation. People telling you the truth. Well, some examples of W questions are who, what, when, where, why, and how. No matter that how has the W in the end, it's anyway considered as a W question, okay? And here it says avoid. Avoid means don't do this. Avoid questions like, would you, did you, is it? Do you remember how do you call these questions that start with auxiliaries or with verbs to be? Do you remember? Closed questions, right? Because what if I ask you, do you like blue? You're going to tell me yes, no. That's it. And then it's going to be very uncomfortable because you don't have anything else to talk about unless you continue with what kind of blue or why blue or why don't yellow, you know, but that's not the kind of investigation you want. You want something comfortable, casual, open to other new questions after the first question. So avoid closed questions, avoid these kind of questions. You already know this from survey, so I'm not worried about this. And that's why you go to tip number 8, which is ask follow-up questions. So after you have the first answer, you can continue with other questions like, what's your favorite color? And you say, I like navy blue. Okay, why navy blue? You say, oh, babe, because when I was a child, I have this toy. It was navy blue because my dad works in the Navy. Oh, how old were you when you got that toy? I was 7 years old and I love it. So then you can continue with other questions that you didn't prepare in the beginning, but because you're an investigator, you know how to get into those. So you can continue a conversation. You can also use other questions like what's an example of that? And then remember silence. Okay, here says silence or a complete statement question. So when that happened, and then you wait for the other person to answer. So you can use that kind of questions that the other person can complete, because there is a connection between you. There is an arc during the conversation, so you can connect ideas, and the other person is going to complete. So those were the 8 first tips to have a good interview. The other set of tips are these. Clarify. Make sure that you understood what the other person wanted to say, because your context is going to be different than the context of the other person. Even if you live in the same town, even if you study in the same school, your context is different because you grew up in a different family, in a different neighborhood. So that's why in the end, usually you summarize everything and you clarify that both of you understood everything, especially you, because you are the one interested on understanding the information from the market. Okay, answering questions with questions. This is not my favorite one because I don't like questions after questions. That's my personal case, but it's a recommendation, it's a tip. So when you, when the person gives you an answer, you can reply with other question, like, how do you think that will work? You know, this person is maybe asking you, how do I use this? Let's suppose that we're talking about a new electronic product. So this person is going to be, how do I turn it on, for example? Okay, so you don't want to tell people how it works because you are not going to be next to them when they buy the product. So you want to know if they can do it by themselves. So you can reply that like, how do you think that will work? How do you think it works? What else can you do with this? So if the other person asks you something, try not to reply immediately, but to make the other person think. Okay, so you understand the behavior, you understand if the person understood or not, and then you can continue. Okay, I like this, concrete. Keep it personal and concrete. Talking about personal, we're not talking about friends. You don't need to be friend of the person or of the market. You don't need to be close, but being friendly is different. When it says keep it personal and concrete, it's like avoid generalizations, like people think this product, blah, 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 or everyone wants, or, you know. So here they recommend you to ask for recent or personal examples. So how would you use this? What do you think about this? What is this? Why is this important for you? So keep it personal. When talking about the time, here like in the watch, make sure that you are not having like a very endless, you know, extremely long interview and conversation, because people and you get tired. People get bored. You know, like right now, probably I've been talking for 20 minutes and probably it's going to be like exhausting for you being sitting there in front of the screen listening to Miss Tanya for 20 minutes. Yeah, that's why I try to do it very short and concrete. So watch the time. Don't see the other person there for 2 hours, 3 hours talking about the same, because this person is going to be tired. And when you are tired, you are going to say whatever the other person wants to listen. And you don't want that. You want the truth, like it or not. So make sure that you do it like, it depends, of course, on the product. It depends on many things, but don't do it boring, okay? Don't do it like 2 or 3 hours talking about the same and the same. Maybe half an hour, maybe an hour will be good. And also here they say that try to wear your watch like inside, so you can check it, you know, and the other person won't realize that you are in a hurry. And also you can control time. Or you can place a watch or a clock on the wall on the back of the other person. So you can only raise your eyes, watch what time it is, and then continue your interview. In that way, you can control time and don't go into a too long conversation. Okay, it says don't pitch. Let's read. The goal of a research study is to observe and listen to your users' frank feedback. Frank, you know, is the truth. You want the other person to be frank. You don't convince to buy the product. No, that's not your work during an investigation. You don't convince people to buy it. You listen what they want. That's what it says, don't pitch. It means you don't have to push them to buy it. You just talk to them. Shut up and listen. Oh, how important it is to listen, people. If you talk too much, like I'm doing right now, if you talk too much, the other person probably is going to be like, you know, like putting aside, and they are not going to feel encouraged to speak. So you should listen. When you listen, you learn. When you listen, you understand. In this case, especially, you need to listen what the other person has to say about your investigation, about your product. It's not you. You lead. You make questions. You complete the information you need. But it's the other person who needs to speak more. And finally, it says, watch facial expressions, body language, and tone. If you can see here in these pictures, you remember I told you to not cross your arms? If you pay attention to this woman here, usually when you cross your arms, it's an attitude like you are not open to change your mind. You are actually closed to new opportunities. This is negativity. So that's why you shouldn't cross your arms. And also in the church, when you go to Mass on Mondays, they recommend you not to cross your legs or arms. It's not only because it's bad education, but it's because it shows negativity. It means that you are closer to listen, closer to open your mind and your heart. If you pay attention to the other body language, the other expressions, so probably this guy is really confident. This one probably is waiting for someone. She's like really fresh and self-confident. You know, you can understand a little bit the body, what it means. So pay especially attention on your face. If you don't like something, if you don't like the answer or about your product, what this person says about your product, you know, don't show it, because then the other person is not going to tell you the truth. You know, you try to have a relaxed face, listening, interested, fascinated, and the other person will feel more comfortable to talk to you. And here, I like this. It says face them, so show your face, make eye contact, avoid fidgeting and crossing your arms. And here, where is it? Here. Don't hesitate to ask what made them roll their eyes, sigh, laugh, frown, smirk. When the other person is speaking, probably they are going to have body language that you will need to understand. Like if they roll their eyes, you know, like, oh, you know, like they don't like something. So that's an opportunity for you to ask, okay, why do you roll your eyes? What made you roll your eyes? And then this person is going to explain you, because I remember this, or I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. Probably they are talking about an experience. So it's going to be really useful to be attentive to the other person's expressions and your expressions too. Remember that you are building an arc with this person. Finally, practice. Practice. Of course, the first interviews that you make are going to take longer. You're going to make mistakes. That's normal. Don't feel bad because that happens. But if you practice before an interview, you can also calculate how long it's going to be. You are going to find out maybe questions you don't need to make, or maybe you find out some new questions that you're going to need. And that's it for today. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm really happy we just finished with summary number 3. We can continue with something new next week. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. See you next week. Bye-bye.